Christina, if there's one burning question I've been wanting to ask you, I've been holding off for a while. I've always wondered, I'm gonna let the suspense build for 3 more minutes. No, I'm kidding. Um, I've always wondered, I know I have a pretty good glimpse into your life and how you use your intuition in business and some of the practices you do, the spiritual practices that really help you. And I definitely have my own, and I know Abby has hers too. But I've always wondered if you used any specific methods to decide that I was a good fit for hiring to be on your team. I and like at the time I didn't know you personally very well. So I'm like, my mind was just going wild with all the possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to know, and this can be a more general question too, of just like when you're planning on working with people or you're seeking out good connections in your life, is there a specific spiritual practice you turn to? Do you just kind of trust your intuitive nudges? I'd love to know the
Mm-hmm.
details.
Well, do you want me to answer the first question or the second
Yeah,
question?
let's do the first one.
Selfish motives.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Well, when I was um deciding like for your position, I had a lot of really great people apply. And I mean, it's a combination. It's always a combination, right? Of like what's going to make the most sense. I want somebody who like has the skill set, but then, when it comes down to a bunch of people who are great, right? I really just listen to my intuition, and it might not always make sense. And like the way that ended, to be quite frank, like it was down to you and one other person. And my logical brain was saying the other person. I'm just gonna be honest.
Really?
Yeah, my logical brain was saying the other person, but I just kept feeling like you, okay? And then so I did what any logical person would do, and I consulted the tarot cards. So
God, I
I could
knew there was more.
I for sure used my pendulum and my tarot cards. On both of you, because I was down on my final two. It's like, but also, as I was going through that process, like one by one, it's just feeling the conversation, right? And like, um, it's just an intuition thing, and it's not about the person. It's about the fit, right? And that's the
Yeah.
thing I've learned, because I've hired so many people that have been based off logic who didn't work out long term, and I should have listened to my intuition earlier on. And it wasn't that there was anything wrong with them. It was more of just like what was going to end up being best that I couldn't see ahead of time, for both people, right? For both people, like, I hate to feel like I'm blocking anybody else from following their passion, like,
Yeah.
that thing too. So sometimes our intuition guides us for reasons that we're not going to understand until like way further down the line. And I've learned that. So yeah, I consulted my tarot cards. I consulted my, and you actually, it threw me for a loop actually, because, but now it makes sense to me. The cards, I wonder if I took a photo. I think I might have taken a
Oh
photo. I
my
can take
God.
a look. But
I'm
your
so glad I
cards
opened this can of worms.
threw me off because they were really good. It was all about a lot of money. It's like a lot of money, but the first card, because I pulled four, right? And they're all like money, abundance, everything I wanted. But the first one was a death card. And I was like, what? And so that one threw me off. I'm like, I don't know if I don't, but looking back, it was about, I mean, think about all of the things that we've ended, Kelsey, that like since you came on, like the
Oh
death
my
of that
God.
that
Yeah.
version of me, of those parts of my business. And so it makes a lot of sense. It's like releasing all of that. Like I don't think I would have been able to release all of that, right, without you. And then like now where we're at, so it makes sense. But in that context, I was like, what is this about?
It's
Right.
been a
Like,
wild six
um,
months.
yeah, yeah. So that was and I also, because especially it felt like such a big decision, because it felt like, who am I like inviting into my life? Like this is my baby. Like it's,
Mhm.
I knew it's going to be somebody who's like, it's not a like casual thing.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. And
it
like
was it felt
your situation too, it's like very different than a lot of people's. Like everyone has their own, I don't know, the way they run their business. And yours is very much like your personal life is so intertwined with your business.
yeah.
And so I feel like that's another really heavy consideration for you.
Yeah, it
Cause
has to be, because it has to be somebody I can be friends with. Like it just has to be. And it had to be somebody that I could see there for a really long time. And I think that's also part of like some of those intuitive nudges of why certain people weren't the best fit, was more about like the longevity of like something better, more aligned for them was going to come in. So I just stress I don't need to personalize it about me or them. But it was such a big decision, and I was really in my head, and it was hard for me. Like, so I also, in those situations, I have people I turn to that are my sounding board to reflect back to me. Like, and so I have a couple people who I definitely like consulted, right? These are my final two. What do you think? And everybody said you. And then my intuition, and I was like, I'm just going to sleep on it, notice how I feel tomorrow, and like also just kind of like let the universe nudge me. And I just got and I was like, okay, this is it, you know? So I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned when you were like, I have a hard, I don't work on weekends rule. And I was like, fuck, like, what if something happens? And then I was like, it's probably good for me. And you didn't uphold that boundary, so it's fine.
I got shitty boundaries, so it's fine.
Yeah. That was like the only thing. No, but, so, okay, in general, I for sure consult my pendulum and my cards, but that's never there are times when I consult my pendulum and my card and I pick something totally different. At the end of the day, it's like how I'm feeling, and I'll like tune into my guides, and that's what I'm going to go off of more than my cards or my pendulum. Sometimes I'll be like, you know what, even like, let's say my pendulum says yes, based on my response to its yes, like it might say yes and I'm like, no, then
I'm like, that's like, shut up.
That's telling my intuition, right? If I don't like the answer, like that's sometimes my intuition, right? Making sure it's not my ego. But spiritual practices in general, well, I do a lot of energetic work, like scripting, journaling, like all of that, like visions, brain rewiring, focus specifically around my business itself. And so I will like, oh man, am I frozen?
Just restart
still?
that sentence. I think you're fine now.
What was the last thing I said?
You do a lot of scripting, visualizations.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I do a lot of like journaling, a lot of brain rewiring, visuals. Did I freeze again? Okay.
No, you're good.
I can't tell because
I think Kelsey's frozen.
No, I just.
Oh wait, she
froze for me.
Oh.
Okay, let's just continue.
Okay.
I'll splice it.
Let me restart. So I do a lot of work on my business with like journaling, scripting. I write out very clearly what I want to call in. And I do like more like classic manifestation work with that. I do a lot of visualizations, brand rewiring specifically around my business. I think the most important thing I do though is, well, kind of two things. First of all of the personal work I do, like that's the most important thing for me, like spiritually with my business. It's about taking care of myself and my vessel. And for me, investing in coaches and like everything I do to support myself is like the most important thing for my business and like my mindset, expanding my mindset, because my energy, like if my energy isn't right, it doesn't matter what I put out there. It's not going to flow. Right. So I have to be really open and in the state of receiving. My life has to be in alignment for my business to work. That's just how it is. So my personal development work is the most important thing. But I also, like with business specifically, I do energy work on my business pretty much every day, where, I'll go in like, and I'll look at like, I go into the Akashic records, I use a high, and I like literally send my business energy. I open up channels. I see where there are any blocks. I work with the consciousness of my business itself, different offers, and I'm tuning into what wants to be created. How does it want to be created? Where are there blocks here? Like, how can we expand this? How can we open this up? How can I hold more money? Like sometimes my business like energetically needs to be expanded so I can actually just hold more, receive more. So I do things with, just calling forward future clients, clearing out people who don't need to to be in my field anymore who just aren't necessarily serving me. I'm not serving them. So let's just clear the space. So I do a lot of alignment work with my business itself in the records, and I'm like a high. So yeah, I do a lot of that. I also do that for my, more my VIP clients, like in some of those higher level containers where I work on their businesses as well. So those are some of the things I do specifically, but I think of everything I do personally as part of my spiritual work on my business, like
Yeah.
all of the clearing, all of the grounding, all of the alignment work. So it's kind of just my lifestyle.
I feel like that's a really fascinating concept, and it makes so much sense though, is working with your business as its own consciousness, as its own being, its own entity, and like sending it energy healing and cutting cords for it. I think that's so cool. And it
Yeah.
feels really powerful.
It's necessary, honestly. Like it changed my life. I did a podcast about this, and I know a lot of people told me it really shifted things for them, but like, I mean, I would go before, I remember like going into parts of my business that I felt like just weren't budging. And I'm like, there's like a dark cloud over this. Like, can we clear this? Right. And think about if I think about all of the people that my business touches every single day, I don't even know half of them. If I think about all the people listening to my podcast every single day, those are all
Yeah.
energetic attachments, right? And those are all people also that are tugging on my energy that I'm not conscious of, right? And so this is why I have to consistently do clearing work. Like even if I don't talk to anybody all day, there are still hundreds or thousands of people like energetically connected to me, tugging on me that day,
Mm.
and so I'm aware of that. But then also with all of the people that my business touches that I'm not even aware of, those are all different chords. Those are all people projecting their energy. Like it's just, there's a lot there. And so I want to stay on top of that, but I also want to make sure that, what's wanting to be created, like what's going to be best for that creation, right? Like staying clear on the mission, staying clear on the why. And my ego might want to make something in a certain way, offer something in a certain way, but then my business might be like, no, this is how it needs to be put out there. This is what's going to be in highest service. This is what's going to be best for the business itself. And so I'm looking at all of that. And I have definitely done things differently for that reason. Like that might like a lot of my offers look quite different, and that's for a reason. It's like, how does this really need to be created? And I think about what I want, because my life matters, right? Like
Yeah.
what I want for my lifestyle, and then also what's best to overlap. So it's not like I have to pick. But yeah, I look at things from the logical side and like my more classic business marketing side. And then I also look at it from the spiritual side, and I typically land on where it overlaps. But if one intuition overriding my logic.
So if you were to give advice to someone who hasn't done anything woo in their business at all, but they're interested, what would you say is the first thing that they should try to do?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I would do is I would have a practice. Okay, this is kind of like more than one thing, but I think the way you start your morning is so important. And so I would just make sure that in the morning, it doesn't have to be some long ass thing, but like just having something that grounds you, centers you, and gives you your you time. It could be, 5 minutes with your matcha, with your coffee, that's just for you, or doing some deep breathing for 2 minutes. Like just one thing that feels like this is for me. I'm not attached to anybody, because I think like, you want to go into your day feeling very grounded and centered on your why, and even setting intentions for your day, right? Like your entire life can shift if you take 1 minute every morning, just focus on your breath and set your intention. What is your intention for that day? What do you want to create? What's the energy you want to carry out that day? It takes like 30 seconds to a minute, and you'll notice a huge difference. So I would say that is something super simple. And then the other thing that I think is really helpful is doing some type of like future vision work around this. So either like I have like my daily manifestation meditation that you could totally use that's going to implement those future visualizations, but at least doing something where you're visualizing like the business you want, like being in that today, right? So spending 5 to 10 minutes in that visualization, or you can do both if you want, or doing future scripting. So in the morning, writing out your to-do list, or like a journal entry, like as if you already have what you want. So like a classic example, I'll have some of my clients do, and I'm like, okay, I want you to take out your journal. You are making 20K a month. So I want you to write out your to-do list for the day. And I want you to write out how you're moving through the day and like journaling around what's happening in your business and like really taking on that persona. Because people realize, whoa, okay, when I make this amount of money or when I have this amount of clients or whatever you're thinking, I'm showing up very differently in my day. It makes you realize how to spend your time, like how you actually spend your time and what your energy actually is. And so because then you can read that and realize, oh, when I'm making this much money, I'm not moving frantically through my day. Oh, I'm not worried about, is this Instagram post perfect? Like you're realizing like what your energy is like, and the choices you're making. And so when you have that written out, you can say, okay, I'm going to go into my day today and carry this energy through, and I'm going to show up in this way. Right. So I like to do that in the morning because it can guide your day really expansively. So those are like some simple things I would suggest people try out.
Mornings are
amazing.
sacred for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Abbey, what
Mornings
about
are
you?
key.
I have to admit I'm not great at this. So like even Christina's advice, I'm like, oh, I should do that. I definitely have been woo-woo for a long time, and my intuition has been poking at me lately, seeing ghosts and all the things. So I know that I have to jump into this for sure. Kelsey's face right now.
I'm excited for you.
Kelsey and I have we have mediumship on Friday. So
yeah, mediumship sesh.
Yeah, this is what Kelsey and I do.
Dead grandmas on the clock,
So we do for fun.
I want in on that.
There we go.
But yeah, I definitely like use my pendulum when I'm deciding what rate to send a client, or like my intuition is my North Star for everything. I really I am a sacral authority in human design, which I've learned more about myself through that. Just knowing if it's a fuck yes or a fuck no, and really trusting that. And getting out of like all the clutter of like the what ifs, and just kind of surrendering to whatever happens with my business. And every time I'm in that flow, things just happen. So letting go of the control piece of my personality has been very, very helpful in my business.
I think with intuition and business, it's more some of these like really simple, it doesn't have to be this whole extra practice, but like, adding in something that's 5 to 10 minutes of your day can go a really long way. But it's more so showing up in how you move through your day, right? It's like exactly what you said. It's just like listening to your intuition when you're making decisions as you go through your day. And I think every person should explore their human design, because it has changed my life in so many ways. And living my business, I'll like text Kelsey. I'm like, we need to set up my business so it's in alignment with my design. Like we need to change everything, but the more you do live according to your design, you're going to notice everything open up. But I think also just on a larger level, to be honest, I see this blocking a lot of people in their business, like doing that spiritual work, like having that spiritual growth, like having some type of, it could be therapist, life coach, mentor, spiritual advisor, energy healer, like somebody that you're seeing consistently who is there to help you like broaden your perspective, see things from a different way. Because when you're doing that type of work, right, you're just able to see so many more possibilities for your business, for the choices you make. Like that is the deeper work that I think is much more important than anything tangible, and that's why like every highly successful CEO, business owner, like they have a team of people that are supporting them personally, and like they're doing a lot of that personal development work in whatever way, but I think that was the missing piece for me for so long. I was so like, it was kind of like what I was doing with food when I was trying to heal for my health journey. Like for my business to grow, I needed to stop actually focusing on the logistics of the business and start focusing on my mindset, my brain, my energy, and just how I was viewing the world, So I think that's actually the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think too, that's opening up space for things to come to you. Like if you're spending all of your time on the logistics, you don't have space energetically to do anything else, like the creative side of things. So hiring someone is going to open up that huge thing that you couldn't have done before.
Totally.
And for most entrepreneurs, your business is an extension of yourself. So it totally makes sense that, you know, your personal growth work should be first and foremost. How is your business supposed to expand if you're not as a person? And it's funny too, because I see this with myself, even with Christina's business. Like, I came from a place of really low self-worth, money fears, all of that. And the second I started doing work on myself, like I just feel like it carried over so much into my work for Christina. And that's going to in turn like fuel her business. And it's all connected. And yeah, human design. If you haven't watched or listened to the episode with Victoria Jane yet, go listen. Very interesting stuff, but total game changer for life and business.
Yeah. And like, I think that's important to think about if you are somebody that has people on your team in any way, whether they are employees or contractors, like, and this is part of why I don't have like my hiring is different. And even like releasing team members is different, because the thing is, if anything is out of alignment, it's messing with the business for both of us, right? And so like if Kelsey is feeling really shitty, that is going to fuck with my business. Like I need Kelsey in alignment, right? I need Abbey in alignment, right? I need everybody connected to me to also be in alignment. Otherwise that energy is going to affect my business the same way like Kelsey can be giving her all. If I'm not taking care of myself, like my business can't receive, you know? And so it's so important to think about that. And like the health and happiness of the people on your team supporting you, you know? And like, I've seen so much magic happen when people start like looking at their team members differently and employees differently and like start supporting them on a more personal level. It doesn't have to be you particularly, but you know, this is why a lot of companies will do things for bonding or like have therapists or coaches or things like kind of like available to support people in that way, because you can change your whole business when everybody's feeling in alignment and happy in their personal lives. So that's really important to think about. And like, I mean, I think, you know, I love talking about business energetics. It's like my favorite thing in the world because it feels like the cheat sheet that people aren't talking about, where I think there are so many people who are like hustling through it, like following the steps. And I'm like, I can help anybody. I don't have to know the industry at all. I don't even have to understand the bit, like the business itself, but I can help anybody grow their business if I'm looking at the energy of it and their energy, you know? Which is really cool, for me. I mean, when I first started business coaching, I felt like I can only help somebody who wants to build exactly what I've built. But then I started working with like more in the energy healing capacity, like a lot of people in San Diego, like different CEOs and entrepreneurs who have businesses. I have no idea how to build like a DTC brand, right? But we started just doing a lot of their like energy healing and personal development work. And like I've watched as their businesses have completely shifted, and they send all of their employees to me. They're like, you need to work with her. Like, and it made me realize, like seeing firsthand, oh, this is like how powerful this is, you know? So, you know, shift your mindset, shift your reality for sure.
Yeah. And break through all the conditioning, because I do feel like our work culture has been so embedded in our brains since we were young. And like Christina could talk all day about how you observe this kind of stuff from your parents and the media, but you really do have to relearn some of that if you ever want to bust through plateaus. I mean, the things that we learn aren't necessarily the truth or what's the truth for you or what's going to help you succeed the most. So just be open-minded about that.
Yeah, I was just having this client with somebody yesterday, and you know, she's very much building like a personal brand. And so much of what we've been working on has been, I'm like, you need to work less. Like you're overworking. You need to have more fun in your life. I'm like, it's really that simple, because this is impacting your ability to receive. Like, and your energy is dispersed too many places. It needs to be focused. And she's just like so hard on herself and been having a really hard time. And that's why I'm like, why do you keep giving yourself extra work that is not getting us anywhere? Right. And she's like, I just feel like I have to be working to earn it. And, you know, it's like, I'm like, do you see how deep this conditioning is? Like, you can be working less and enjoying your life, and that's actually what's going to make you more money. And a lot of people are in that mindset. But I think that's also that mindset. And that's what I told her. I'm like, that mindset is also what keeps people in financial struggle. Like, if everybody learned the concepts of manifestation, intuition, business energetics, the energy of money, like really energy of abundance, right? Like money energetics. If everybody actually had that information, like basic, we would live in a completely different world.
Let's start a new country, and these are the foundational laws.
Yeah. Well, I think about education, like, you know, different programs that provide education for people that don't have access to too much education. And I'm like, I think that this is some of the most important things to give people who, you know, are struggling with, you know, in any way. It's like teaching somebody how to manifest, I think, is like one of the most important tools, because that's actually the thing that helps people really break out of who they've been told they're destined to be, right?
Yeah.
Because they believe that.
The mentality too.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
more
Like,
powerful than what's at your fingertips. Your mind is so powerful.
exactly. And if you look at any of these, like, you know, I think there are a lot of quote unquote like success stories of people who have like come from nothing and like made something incredible for themselves, for the world. And like, that's manifestation. Like if you listen to those, if you listen to those stories, it's the person who said, you know what, everybody around me is saying I'm never gonna do amazing things. Like I'm never gonna break out of this. But I believe in myself, and I actually like believe that I'm deciding this is what I'm going to make for my life, and I'm determined, and they see the opening because they've already decided I'm going to break out of this, right? That's just another way to describe manifestation.
I literally always think about this actually.
You
Funny
know,
enough.
it's all based on our beliefs. It's all based on our beliefs. And so it's like, if we can instill more self-belief in people, like understanding how powerful they are, right? And like, that they can make something different for themselves, it could be a very different world, I think. I don't know. I just think it's a shame that more people don't have access to it.
Yeah, well, we're going to change that. We're changing it one day at a time.
Here's the thing. I've never had to use calculus in my life.
Right.
But manifesting, I feel like this is a core, you know what I mean? Like
that and how to pay your taxes. We
know, manifesting a better educational system.
Why did I not have a class on how to pay taxes in high school? Like
Literally,
that feels necessary.
Like macroeconomics, and I never learned how to write a fucking check.
I know.
Struggled when I was like 23. I thought I was paying off my student loans, and I was like just paying off interest for several years.
Oh my God, are you serious?
No one told, like, I just paid what they said was due. Like
that should be that's true though. It's like you take econ, but it's like we should be taught how to take out a loan. Like what does that look like? How to pay taxes? Like, I mean, how to budget? Like, what?
Like the stock market's not the most pressing priority when you're 17.
I didn't even learn about the stock market. I don't even know what I learned in econ, actually.
Who knows? It's so abstract.
What did I learn in econ? I never learned about the stock market. I mean, I wish I had a class on investing.
No, you don't.
I wish I did. Like basic. I mean, I wish that was something I was forced to do, you know. I don't know. I'm trying to think, what did we even do in econ?
We learned about like if you sell this goat to this person across the fence, like it was nothing that was reasonable for life.
I like actually don't know. I'm like trying to think of what I think econ was like math. I remember it was just math. Yeah. It was like math.
Lots of charts, line graphs,
equations.
Which doesn't
God.
With this girl. So
did you have, okay, I remember now, senior year, it's like we had one semester of government and one semester of economics. Is that what you had too?
I wish. No.
Really?
Yeah.
I just remember we like did nothing in that class. Like now that I think about it, that teacher was like, we just didn't do anything.
Oh, econ was really hard for me, honestly. It was the one thing that was just so abstract to me that I couldn't grasp because it wasn't like any other subject. And then in college, my hardest class was environmental econ. It was a shit show. I couldn't even tell you what was covered, but like half the class stopped showing up after a week.
Really?
So not my forte.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't take any classes like that in college. I lucked out. I feel like I lucked out big time. My hardest class was like some neuroscience class.
Well, that's fair. I feel like
I got a finance degree, so everything was terrible all the time.
That sounds miserable.
Props to you. Actually, you know what my hardest class was? I took some coding classes.
I could see that. Yeah.
And then after like after a few, I was like, I literally hate this. Like, it makes me want to vomit
so
every time I
not
go to
you.
this class. Yeah, well, I was forcing myself to go through it because I thought I had to. I was like, oh, if I have a computer science minor, I'm gonna get jobs. I'm really glad I
Clearly you
did.
didn't need that.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You know what's so funny? Have you seen the movie Never Been Kissed? Have you seen this?
No, but I know you
No.
like it, and I
It's
have
one of
to
my
watch
favorite
it.
movies. It's a classic with Drew Barrymore. Anyway, she basically like she poses as a high school student. She's a reporter. She's like 25. She's a reporter. She poses as a high school student, and they're like showing her in school, and she's like in gym class, like running, and she's like, I can't breathe. I need water. And the gym teacher goes, if you don't pass gym, you're not going to get into college. And she goes, you guys are still telling that lie? And I'm like, I feel like anytime somebody talks about like things that they need to graduate college to get a job, I'm like, that line plays for me. I'm like, you guys are still telling that
It's
lie?
all a
Like,
lie.
it's such bullshit. Anyway, kind of got off track. But yeah, spirituality and
fascinating stuff.
business.
Hey, if you want more of that content, make sure you, shameless plug, check out Christina's podcast. But for real, she goes into all
Yeah, it's all about the business energetics. And if this is something that you haven't looked into, it will completely shift your business. This is how you make the quantum leap. All right. You open yourself up to receiving, build your receiving muscle, self-care, think about the people on your team, think about everybody you're energetically attached to, think about, are you in alignment, or do you feel like you are like dragging yourself to do everything in your business? Like that's tough. And here's the thing, it's like, if you're doing really well, not enjoying it and feeling like the energy here is off, imagine how well you're going to do when the energy is in alignment and you're really open to receiving and like things are flowing. So sky's the limit. But I hate to see so many people. I feel like the picture of adulthood for me was like, yeah, you go to school and then you start working and then you like hate your life and you live for the weekends. It's
Okay,
like this depressing thing.
I was literally
Yeah.
thinking how everyone always told me that I would hate adulthood because when I was a
Yeah.
kid, I just always felt like I didn't belong as a kid, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Totally.
I was always so excited to be an adult. And then I actually fucking love adulthood. Like I kind of hated my childhood. Nothing wrong with my upbringing. I just didn't like
Yeah.
being a child. Like
I agree. Adulthood is way better. I'm like, I'm so glad I'm
so much
not
freedom.
in like middle school, high school, college. Like I'm much happier now.
Oh my god.
Because you don't work a corporate job.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
seriously. Like, but I don't know. I just, people should enjoy their lives. That's the point. I don't want to spend my whole life just like working on things I don't like. I want to enjoy it.
And
So
despite what people tell you, you don't have to. So
this is true. Well, maybe let's wrap up there for today. Let us know if you have any other questions about this, any further discussion points. We would love to hear. Obviously, love this topic. So leave a comment on a recent Instagram post. If you have any thoughts you want to share with us, feel free to connect with us at the podcast connector. And if you haven't already, leave a rating and a review on iTunes. It takes 1 second and really helps support the show. Thank you again so much for tuning in. We will chat with you again next episode. Bye, guys.
bye.